intercession, the craziness of that AP schedule, which is just nuts, like online, in paper, at home, craziness. And then multiple choice, testing mode. All right. All right, so I'm gonna share my screen now, and we're gonna go through this. We're gonna read this first. I'm realizing now this will take, so I just need you guys to pay attention for right now, because I'm gonna take some notes on this. You guys can watch. All right, here's the prompt. And I gotta try to do this in 10 minutes. Where's my, so the way that this is done is that you take notes for 10 minutes and then you write for 30 minutes. That's the way it's supposed to be done, okay? I'm gonna give my, you know what, I'm gonna give myself 12 minutes, all right? So, okay, I just got the test, right? Let me see my, all right, so I just got the test, okay? And where am I? Here's my timer. And I'm about to read the prompt, all right? And I have 40 minutes, okay? So, so here I go. Ready? I'm gonna put I'm actually putting 12 minutes to annotate. This is kind of a short one too. So here I go. Everybody. All right, April 9th, 1964, Claudia Lady Bird Johnson, who was at the time the First Lady of the United States, gave the following speech at the first anniversary of the Eleanor Roosevelt Memorial Foundation. The foundation is a nonprofit division of the Franklin Delaware Library. 52. Read the passage carefully. Right, and with rhetorical choices. Right, rhetorical choices. Okay. All right. So remember, I'm going to think also about the line of reasoning. Okay. So line of reasoning can be cause and effect. It can be narration. It can be problem solution, etc. Okay, makes to achieve her purpose, paying tribute. So really the purpose is paying tribute. This is what I'm going to focus on. All right, so here we go. Rhetorical choices. And then there's also, I can do syntax. What else did we study? Diction and tone, language, diction, tone, language. My writing's crazy, sorry. And then what was the other one we did? Audience. Appeals. And of course, exigence. Got to look for these things. All right. For me, okay, so this is very personal. It's personal because it's to her. It is a great privilege to come here today and participate in this anniversary occasion. It's definitely occasion. Okay, so there's definitely a formality here. First thing I'm thinking is just like the exigence, right? All right, so maybe the importance of recognition. But I don't know. I met Eleanor Roosevelt first in print and admired her. I met her later in person and loved her. So we have some parallelism here, which is kind of like repeating sentence structures. As she did to many very young and very timid congressional wives, she extended her hand in hospitality to me, and Washington was warmer. So we have a first person here. Me, I met her, I met her. So we have first person. This is what's going through my head, right? First person, so it's very personal to her experience. Yes. No, you're just watching. You're just watching to see, because I'm going to look at it first, and then we're going to read what the student wrote. And so I only got a few more minutes. How many more minutes do I have? 9 minutes. Okay. I saw her last. So you guys are just like paying attention. Okay. I saw her last when she came to my home. Again, first person. On the day the Commission of the Status of Women was organized under her chairmanship and her inspiration. Okay, she was 78. I have often thought how much she made those years count for her country. So statues of women, Commission on the Statues of Women. Okay, so maybe there's some kind of like pathos or emotion for women's rights. So already I'm thinking about for exigence, I'm thinking about the exigence will be her contributions to women's rights, dignity, okay? for her country. So there's definitely a patriotic kind of thing going on here. Nobody, said Marcus Aurelius. Okay, so whenever you see something like that, this is an what do you call it? An appeal to authority, appeal to expertise. We are engaged in an idle ceremony which would have brought no comfort for Eleanor Roosevelt. If we come here merely to praise her great qualities and achievements, she did not need our praise. A woman of strength. So now we're in second person, which is interesting. Okay? So like together. Second person, we're here together. All of us, again, switching to second person. I was about to say, I bet you she switches to third at the end, and sure enough, she switches to third. That's interesting. She switches to third person at the bottom. Interesting. All right, all of us are familiar with people who are the partisans of departed virtue, but are afraid to defend an unpopular truth today. Miss Roosevelt never stood with this timid company. Her conscience, so there's like a moral authority here, which again is an ethos, was her counselor, and she followed its commands with unfaltering courage. So there's almost like a spirituality there. So she followed a higher authority. Nor did she really understand what people meant when they praised her for taking so many risks. She would have taken the greatest risk of all if she had remained silent in the presence of wrong. She would have risked the integrity of her soul. So here we have like images of spirituality. And morality. A rabbi of the Jewish community in Berlin under the Hitler regime once said, so here we have this is like an anecdote, I think. But again, because it is a rabbi, right? It goes in between anecdote, which is pathos, it kind of crosses over, and ethos, again, for authority, like a religious authority. The thing I learned is that bigotry and the most important thing I learned is that bigotry and hatred are not the most urgent problems. The most urgent, the most disgraceful, the most shameful, the most tragic problem is silence. Okay, so again, we have these are appeals. So there's almost like an appeals, again, for an ethos. You could say already, I'm thinking that you could say that she organizes this through sort of like the appeal going to ethos. You know, Eleanor Roosevelt followed her own moral conscience, and then she's talking about Marcus Aurelius, and then she's talking about, you know, religious leadership. Eleanor Roosevelt taught us that sometimes silence is the greatest sin. So also here we have a switch up with syntax. Short sentence. Hold on. Okay. Right. Okay, so right, you're still listening. I'm almost done. Oh, am I almost done? Okay. Do you remember what Dr. Samuel Johnson's? We have another reference to appeals to expertise. Unless a man has the virtue, he has no security for pursuing others. Miss Roosevelt knew what those words meant. She lived their meaning of her life every day. Courage, sustained by compassion, was the watchword of her entire career. So now I don't want to forget. I don't want to forget why am I frozen? Can y'all hear me? Anna, can you hear me? I'm frozen here. My face is frozen. That looks so weird. Okay, can y'all hear me still? Yes, okay, I don't know why my face is frozen, so apologies here. Let me switch cameras. What's going on here? Wait. I don't know why my internet's going in and out. I'm not going to worry about it. Okay. Always she thought not of abstracts, right, but of living right. This is so what she's doing here, I don't know what the name of this is called, and don't worry about it either, okay? But here she also uses juxtapositions, right? Juxtapositions of language. And she does this She does this, you know, up somewhere else here as well. You know, there's also sort of this contrast. I'm beginning to see a pattern. I'm going to put this down here, a pattern of contrast, between right versus wrong. Right? Are y'all seeing that too? Yes? Okay. Again, my face is still frozen. Don't look at my face, y'all, for real, because it looks crazy. All right. Now everybody's going to look at my face. I watched her at close range one day where she spent 2 hours helping the 75th Congressional Club give a benefit luncheon to buy a wheelchair for a crippled boy. So again, we have anecdote. Only one person was involved. Where else do you start but with one person? And we have rhetorical question. So she uses all these other little devices here. Okay. Two, going back here, write the essay that analyzes the rhetorical choices Johnson makes to achieve her purpose of paying tribute. Okay. All right. She thought of the suffering individual, not of a theoretical principle. She saw an unemployed father, and so she helped him. She saw the neglected Negro child, and so she educated him. She saw, here we go. She saw, she thought, she saw, she saw, she saw. Okay, so here we have repetition. Two, to reinforce, I don't know, I'm not finding the word. Reinforce for commitment to service. I wouldn't even say sacrifice, because if you know anything about Eleanor Roosevelt, like, she didn't sacrifice. Nothing was a sacrifice for her. She didn't have to sacrifice. It wasn't a sacrifice. She did these things with joy. Okay. She saw dictators hurling into the war, so she worked unflinchingly for peace. She saw United Nations divided by the conflict of ideology and power, so she became the prophet of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Are we ready? So we go from third person back to second. To fight similar battles against new foes in our day. If not, our grief is an empty thing, and the spirit of Eleanor Roosevelt is not among us. So in other words, she also inspires us to act, to continue. She inspires us and others to continue her work. Oh, man. Okay. 23 seconds. President Wilson, okay, so here we go. She saw, all right. She took action. I'm going to put this down here. She took action. A woman of action. Not just words, right? So these are all the notes, guys, that I'm going to write in my essay. Okay? Okay, I'm at 12 minutes. I'm at 12 minutes right now. Okay, and I don't know why my camera is freaking out. All right. All right, so moving on. I'm at 12 minutes, but I'm going to just finish this up. President Wilson used to say that some people in Washington, I'm also thinking about the cap statement. Don't forget that you have to do your cap statement at the end of this, okay? President Wilson used to say, again, we're going to ethos. At this point, I could probably pick anything and I'll be fine. I can say she organizes her speech by way of the use of point of view going from first to second to third. She organizes her speech by way of through the appeals of authority, all right, and expertise, and calls on others to follow her example. President Wilson used to say that some people in Washington, grow in office while others merely swell. Miss Roosevelt steadily grew under her compulsions and inspirations of her great office, but it is perhaps the ultimate tribute to Miss Roosevelt that she reached the true greatness after the shock of her bereavement, when she bravely went forward in a new career as a spokeswoman for America and a servant of world peace. Okay, so her bereavement, that means that after FDR died. Okay, so that's the death of FDR. She kept on working. All right, in the White House, she was the first lady in the land, but after the White House, she became Ambassador Stevenson. And as Ambassador Stevenson reminded us, another ethos, the first lady of the world, great was her goodness, and it was her goodness that made her so great. So again, we have our juxtaposition. This is called something technical, and I can't remember what it's called. Okay. All right. So here, you know, her devotion. So I'm going to just put, at this point, I'm going to put some ASTIs. I've been kind of putting them throughout, but I haven't been like intentionally putting them, right? So we're going to call this service. Okay, dedication. Courage. Tirelessness. Like relentless. Goodness of others. Okay, so these are some of my ASTIs. Let us today earnestly resolve to build the true foundation for Eleanor Roosevelt's memory, to pluck out prejudice from our lives, to remove, here we go with parallelism again, to pluck out prejudice, to remove fear and hate to where it exists, and to create a world unafraid to work out its destiny in peace. We have a call to action here to continue her work. I'm kind of going past my time with notes. Please don't follow this example. Eleanor Roosevelt has already made her own splendid and comparable contributions to that foundation. Let us go and do likewise. Within the measure of our faith and the limits of our ability, let Eleanor Roosevelt teach us how to turn all the arts of compassion into the victories of democracy. Okay, so follow her example. Her example of service and goodness. Okay, so those are my notes. All right, now I'm gonna get right my essay. I'm a little behind. Now I gotta fix, guys, I gotta fix what is going on here.